Hi, welcome to World Listening Day. My name is Cynthia Lees, and I'm here with my very good friend and part-time assistant, Jhanille. Um, World Listening Day is something that I'm choosing to celebrate this year. It only came across my awareness maybe a week and a half before the event. And the reason I chose it is because today is the anniversary of my father's earthly birth. And were he alive today in 2026, he would be 112 today on July 18th. And so in honor of him, somebody who listened well and loved sound. He was a choir boy in Washington. He sang at Woodrow Wilson's funeral. So that was a long time ago. And I wanted to hold a space for World Listening Day. And I'm better at listening than I am at making myself heard, because by the time I got it together to have this space in place and the spot reserved, yeah, getting other people to join me, I'm expecting potentially one other guest, but otherwise this will be a conversation between myself and Jhanille about listening. And so with that, actually, before I let Jhanille go into the history of World Listening Day and what all she knows about that, um, something that came to me is one of the most important instances in my life of being listened, of having somebody really hear me, didn't come from me speaking words and her listening with her ears. It came from her observing me across a room. And that person, her name is Janet Lamb, and she's the director of the spiritual center where I now worship, not directly at her center all the time, but hold on if I can do. Let's see if I can find her. Okay, Zoom, share screen, and that is Janet Lamb. She is just a joy-filled person, and I met her in late 2019 when I was at a low point in life. And she looked at me from across a room, a crowded room of people. I don't know, there were 100, 125 people there. And she said, every time I saw you, Cynthia, every time I caught your eye, you'd cry. And so she came and said, may I offer you light? And I didn't know that it could elevate my soul frequency by receiving light. And I didn't know that it could accelerate happiness and all of these things that she offers. What I knew was here was somebody who saw I needed something and said, I have a practice to share. And in the 10 minutes that I received light from her, it was profound. I was in tears. I had my eyes closed. I heard her chanting this prayer in an ancient divine language that sounded a little bit like Japanese, and it is distantly related to Japanese. And it reminded me of my mother, who grew up in Japan. And when she finished, she said, I have this study. And my dad was a scientist. And so I'm interested in helping scientific studies. And she said, I'm a retired nurse. I have this study and I receive 10 sessions of light. I'll hook you up with a light worker when you go home. So when I went back to Nashville, she said, here's a light practitioner near you. And the divine arrangement was this person was 2 blocks away from my chiropractor. So every 2 weeks I would go get adjusted and then I would go and just chill and get light. And Janet's study was to rate your stress experience before and after. And if I had been smart, I would have had that slide queued up, but I don't. um, and by participating in that study, I was looking for one thing. I was going from the chiropractor. I had hip pain, and I wanted my hip to feel better, and she wasn't offering me that. She was offering spiritual elevation. She was offering something energetic, and I wasn't getting rid of the hip pain, although sometimes I moved better. Um, but I was feeling less stressed. I was feeling better. 9 times out of 10, definitely those numbers increased to the better side. And so then I said, well, tell me more. And so she said, come on out to Reno. 3 days, $200. I'll change your life. And she did. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And with that, Jhanille, if it's a good time, you had started by doing research for me on what this World Listening Day is, and maybe tell us how it started, what it means to you.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. So I didn't do like a full extensive research. I just did some minor look. I just want to look up some things and the terms that I found fascinating. And so I've learned that World Listening Day was founded by Raymond. It was to honor the birthday of Raymond Murray Schaefer in every July 18th. And he is a Canadian composer and environmentalist who founded the field of acoustic ecology. And I was thinking, what is acoustic ecology? Because acoustic and ecology are two different terms. Like acoustic, like when you listen to music, it's a guitar, could be acoustic guitar. And so when I looked it up, acoustic ecology refers to the study of relationship between humans and their environment meditated through sound. And because of that, the event was established by the World Listening Project in 2010 to encourage people to pause, reflect, and engage with their acoustic environment. And so what it means to me, I think it's a very beautiful event to celebrate, to be mindful for, because I realized I came across this video on my feed, like it was she was a deaf person, and it says that it's very hard to be in a world where the world doesn't accommodate you because a lot of people can hear but she doesn't. And so this world is not made for people like her. And that hit to me because if we actually listen, and then we would get to know that there are people like her, that we should be mindful of not just us, those people who has the ability to hear, but to also those two people who doesn't. And World Listening Day is not just about the nature, hearing the trees, hearing the sounds in our environment, but also making a connection towards the people, because it's very important to I'm sorry. It's very important to listen, like not just it's very important that you yourself will be heard, and it's also important to listen. Like it's a give and take, situation with one another. And as for this World Listening Project, it's very important to be grounded by our nature as well, because um humans are not the only ones who live in this planet. We also have the beautiful creations of the Lord. There are trees, there are animals, and World Listening Day, this event held annually, is just a day to to be mindful of our surroundings. Like, what can we hear? And based on what we hear, what do we understand from those things that we hear in our daily life? And it's basically to take a pause from our noisy life. We have a lot of things going on, getting stuck in traffic, doing a lot of things. And sometimes it can get our minds very clouded. And just by this event, we remember to take a pause and actually listen to the world, listen to our surroundings. And I think it's a very beautiful event. And even though it's celebrated for only July 18th, but I think the practice of listening we should be doing in our everyday life.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you there. Say thank you. That was amazing, and yeah, don't discount the value of what you do. If you don't spend hours on research, 5 minutes of research, you can find out a lot, and you came away with more than 5 minutes of research than I had. I looked at World Listening Day and I thought of listening and communication, and I thought of listening and speaking, and I invited people here who work in communication courses and teach listening and speaking to come. And when you're talking about listening within your soundscape, within your acoustic environment. That's, well, it's not a whole different practice, but it's a whole different piece of what I practice and what I teach when I'm trying to get people to calm down, be still, get into nature. Get into nature. Listen, touch that tree. Listen, and if you are in so much of a city that you can't touch a tree and that you can't hear a cricket chirping and wow, I hope that people have recorded soundscapes that you can listen to because that nature sound is so important. And and when you, Jhanille, shared with me about this acoustic environment, and that brought present for me that recently, probably within 6 or 8 weeks of summer of 2026. I mean, AI has been in our lives forever, and I've been working lightly with AI off and on for a few years now. And and only this summer did it become in my listening and my awareness what those data centers potentially cost us in environmental cost and acoustic environment, very much so. I mean, when I saw a short video of somebody taking a walk in a place that looks like this, my background here is the McCreary County Reservoir. I live in McCreary County, Kentucky, in the Daniel Boone National Forest near Appalachia. I have more trees for neighbors than people, although I live in a subdivision and you can see houses on both sides. Bigfoot lives here too. Bigfoot has been documented here. I mean, there's more acres than people here, and the thought that a data center could move nearby and change the soundscape from one that is nature and serene and the breeze and the trees and the rippling of that water or the birds calling to each other, and instead put in that 90 decibel hum of a fact that there's a data center within 5 miles. I'm understanding that kind of disruption is huge. Although, as they're advertising it, they talk about, it's no more than the sound of a conversation. But if you think of a conversation, even a conversation with a friend in the kitchen, at least you can go back to your bedroom and close the door and have that conversation stop sometimes. And this never stops. It may only be that loud, but it's there all the time. And it kind of helps that as I'm having this Zoom with you, my neighbor out there is using some kind of weed trimmer. So I'm hearing that hum. Um, and it's not troublesome hearing it here because I know it will stop soon. And if it were to be constant, when you put that kind of sound near farms, farms that are producing our food, the beef lose 30% of their weight. So how many more cows do you have to grow in order to make a pound of hamburger? And then the chickens lay 50% fewer eggs. And the people, their blood pressure and all sorts of things. And I saw things about, however many deaths were expected annually by 2030 because of data centers, and the number was like 1130 or something. It was way low. Low. It's going to be more than that. Come on, 1,000 deaths a year from that kind of stress. That's buried. Um, so yeah, World Listening Day in honor of Wayne Lees, um, who I'm serving the Lees family ancestors, although their names are changed on their tablets, so they're not connected. Um, Here, he listened to people and he got people and he tried to help people through his listening and trying to see how he could help. And I think the people in this room are people just like that, listening and, how can I serve? Um, Hold on, let me pause this for a second. Zoom recording. And here comes Raphael. Except, oh, on my on my link because I didn't make him register. Raphael, welcome. I'm going to ask you if you can change your. Oh, maybe I can change your name. Participants here. Let me pause this recording. Okay, now if I can get my train of thought back in, here we are in World Listening Day, and Jhanille and I were talking about the acoustic environment and perhaps how it impacts the family. And then my friend Raphael McLeod entered at just the right time because before I had this background on World Listening Day and I just had the title, I heard World Listening Day and I thought interpersonal communications one to the other and how the impact of a really powerful communication program can have on your listening and your speaking and your impact in the world. And Raphael, are you ready to join us? One of
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Would you care to come on camera?
Give me one moment. I still got to get myself together.
Okay, very good, very good.
Mm.
And one of the reasons why Raphael in particular was invited is because we have worked together in a program from Landmark Worldwide, which a team management and leadership program. It's an elite high performance program, but that program, the participants get to coach these communication courses, communication access to power, and communication power to create. And I have it in my listening that Raphael is engaged in um, working in a game in the world for the Communications Access to Power course, and might
Yeah.
perhaps speak to us about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Cynthia, for giving me the opportunity to share. Is it Jhanille? Hi, Jhanille. I'm Raphael. Um,
Hi.
so so for me, first off, it's look at it as coincidence anymore. It was Cynthia who was my guide and my light when I was coming into this particular program. She was my ambassador, preparing me for this program. This program is um, immersive, and it really takes the components of and technologies of communication, and it deliberately puts you into situations where you get to use the technology to create something that would not have been created had you not come in and say that you're going to create it. And I know it sounds like a little bit of it may sound a little bit of a babble to you, Jhanille, and I'm sure Cynthia will create it in such a way that you could understand it. But it's just giving you an opportunity to speak into like whatever it is that you're interested in, Jhanille, in the world, um, and you want to see that happen in the world. It gives you the tools to go ahead and make it so because you simply said it and then it's for me it's been a joyous ride because I have it that there are some places in each of us that we have like strong suits. So like somebody might say that Cynthia, you're great at ABC, Jhanille, you're great at EFG, Raphael, and so on and so forth. And then we tend as humans to lean on those strong suits. So if you're great at this, you tend to lean on that and use that tool a lot, because you get great results from that particular tool. And then when we use the communication technology, it puts you in a space where the areas where you may have some challenges, those areas are now brought to surface, and now you're able to, have some kind of guideway, some kind of instruction as to how to manage in those spaces. So it develops muscles that were dormant before, or were less used before. So that's the world of that. I don't know if I shared that
I think you did. I think you did
information yet.
very well. And
Right.
yeah, when you can come on camera, we would appreciate it.
Sure.
And Jhanille, I think, has a pretty good idea of the power to create words. She um, got to proofread my daily gratitude journal, or at least
Oh,
like 10 months of it. And she's doing this on a continuing basis. And that's an impromptu note whenever I have time. And you know what time is? It's something that doesn't exist sometimes. But when I have 5 minutes, 1:27 p.m. I'm so very grateful that Raphael came, and gee, he said he wouldn't be ready till 1:30, so I should stop pushing him. No. And I just heard the word should, and let me circle back to you, Jhanille. And it came up, might have come up before we even started. But it was in the realm of listening and probably spending time outdoors, and I heard should. And even as much as I agree that time outdoors is a priority, when I hear the word should, I'm like, don't should on me.
ah, ah,
You know?
ah.
The world is good enough at backing up the truck and lifting it up and dumping the fertilizer on me already. You don't have to should on me.
I love it.
So yeah. And yes, that power to create. I mean, this gathering came out of, oh, I want to do it. Let's do it, Jhanille, let's do it. We threw it together. And although this year it has 3 people, will I continue it in a future year? I'm not sure, but for now, just the whole concept of World Listening Day, I'm sure I will celebrate it in posts and something every year, because part of the nature of what I guide people to do when I'm teaching them to live into gratitude and live with less stress is to spend time in nature or spend time listening to their acoustic environment. And if you can, create that, if you're a musician, and you can shift that environment for yourself, and maybe you want to get a drum or a harp or a musical instrument and start playing with it. I saw amazing clip I shared the other day, but it had to do with, just like if you were a parent, just bringing your kid into the garden to, with a notebook, to like sketch the garden and color, and they're learning their colors, they're learning their shapes, they're watching how the pollinators work, they're listening, and they're feeling the sun on their skin, and they're, whatever they're getting their hands into, and they're listening, they're breathing, they're feeling their environment. And when I was shortly after I retired from being a teacher, I had just published one book and was looking at another one to put in a series for. It was part of a series of books for teens. I wanted to do something about um, a takeoff from the book Last Child in the Woods, which is about this something deficit syndrome, nature deficit syndrome. If you don't, I mean, now they have forest bathing certifications. I don't need a certification. Get your butt out in the woods. This is here, McCreary County. Get out here in the woods and breathe, breathe, because there is a gift there from nature. And if you can listen to her rhythms and listen to the insects and all of that.
It's always, Cynthia, you've always had this, that had and have is present. This way of being that is yeah. It's like the wind or something. I don't know. You got some energy on you. Jhanille, professionally, I'm in law enforcement in Maryland, and like I get exposure to people who are different from me when I do these different programs, and it shows me it shows me different point of views that I don't typically have exposure to. And Cynthia just occurs to me like a breeze, like just like fresh air sometimes, like the sort of things that come out of Cynthia's mouth. I'm like, wow.
You, you-
I,
Thank you. You,
yeah,
You just recreated a former boss of mine. You say, Bloomers, you're a breath of fresh air.
yeah. I have
Yeah,
that experience with you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Did you ever
So I've
receive?
I've never celebrated this day. I didn't even know it existed. So what's this World Listening Day?
Mhm.
Okay.
And as
Okay.
accountability holder for? Communications access to power.
Mhm. Yeah.
What does World Listening Day mean for you?
It means just that, being present to what's around that. I think, we in especially in this Western world over here in America, there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of they call it the microwave, era where everything has to happen like right now. I want something to happen. It has to happen like right now, and there's no, things take time
Hmm.
to mature, to marinate, to develop. These things, just really aren't practiced anymore. And then people think that there's something wrong if it doesn't happen just right this second. And I think that's a missing.
Hmm.
So when we have a day that's dedicated to, you know, listening and being present to what's going on around us, and the beauty of what you say, nature, beauty of the world, just the beauty of existence, these things resonate with me because, yeah, how many times do we take a pause and just like, hey, I'm happy to be just even alive. I'm happy to be breathing. I'm happy, whatever circumstance I'm under right now, it's great. And you said earlier that, there is, there's no shoulds, we're in perfection. We're existing inside of perfection. And a lot of times when we get into the should mentality, we discount the excellence that we are currently standing in. So
Mm.
just to have a day that, we're talking about being present, to the listening of the world, to listening ourselves, it's phenomenal to me, as a accountability for sure.
Mm. Thank you. And oh, I had something and lost it. Um, well,
And it's
okay.
okay.
I,
And
I,
it's
I
okay.
could get, no, it's okay. I'm still
Yeah,
inviting you to come to camera. Um,
I'm coming.
okay, okay, okay. He's gonna really be beautiful. It's gonna be more than a t-shirt when he comes.
I,
Okay.
I,
If
I'm
this
gonna.
man is not in a
I'm
tux and
actually.
tails,
So you know what's going on? I'm actually getting myself ready for work at the same
oh,
time.
okay,
So
okay. Oh, getting in
I'm okay.
uniform. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you receive a greeting card from me after I went to Atlanta maybe a couple of months ago?
I did. I
Okay.
did. That was
Because
nice. Thank you so much for that. That was
it,
nice.
well, it was about I had been offering light, and it has to do with listening of the world, and this light practice that Janet introduced me to. If you'd been here earlier, Janet Lamb is the person who brought me to light. She had told me how powerful this prayer is that we chant, and she said, people had somebody had tried to attack her in a elevator once, and she just raised her hand and started chanting this prayer, and they couldn't get out of the elevator fast enough. And I happened to be at a stoplight, just kind of taking a video because I'm a YouTuber. And there was a gentleman at the car in front of me accosting it, wanting money. It was a beggar. And I already had my hand raised because as I travel, I'm offering light, but I started chanting the prayer just quietly. And I was noticed that as he came up to the car, I turned off the video because I didn't want to, pull him in too closely. But what I noticed was he went by my car and went to accost the next car. He didn't even stop at mine. So by offering that light and chanting that prayer, I was protected from whatever it was that he wanted. And that was why I reached out to Raphael. I'm like, oh man, law enforcement, if you have this power and you're just walking into a situation with whatever intention you already have, but if you're also adding this prayer on top and because the light changes not just the acoustic environment, it changes the whole energetic environment of a neighborhood where it is and where there's a center. um Another thing about the practice is its teachings align us with nature, so I read things about nature almost every day which remind me to go out and exist with the birds. There's a practice that came across my listening. Maybe it was a 90-day challenge, something somebody had posted, but I think it was spend 7 to 10 minutes a day. At the
So
same time,
I've never. Sorry. Go ahead, Cynthia.
at the same time every day with the same tree, go outside, put your hand on the tree, give love to the tree, and be barefoot. there's an energetic exchange. Like if you're upset and you just go out and hold a tree, the tree will take that energy away and clean it for you. But this was a whole practice, and I liked the idea of communing with a tree every day, but I couldn't commit to the same tree every day or the same time every day because my life, yeah, it doesn't work that way. But I liked the idea. Go ahead, Raphael. Where was your mind?
No, no, no. As I'm listening to you, I know you speak about, this light,
Mhm.
chanting and an energy exchange and these type of things like that. I'm unfamiliar
Mhm.
with that, and I'm always interested to learn different styles of bringing spirituality and energy and these type of things. Um, so I guess at another time we can have a conversation around that. Because this is something new that I'm not familiar with.
Excellent. I'm turning pages here because I spoke to the DC Center yesterday. And okay, oh no, that's Creative Field. Hold on. And they have a monthly ceremony in DC once a month on a Sunday. Oh, tomorrow, and then August 16th and September 13th. If you can get to the Mahikari Center on Connecticut Avenue Northwest, and I think it's like 10:15 in the morning. You can receive this 10 minutes anyways of this light practice and the ceremony, a Thanksgiving ceremony with prayers chanted in ancient divine language and many people joining together in prayer. Um, at 11, and then followed by an experience story and teachings. So it depends on how late you can stay, but if you could stay till uh, noon or 12:30 or even 1, you might be able to get a full experience of light. But yes, and I will be coming to DC for the weekend of the 24th, 25th, 26th, or 25th, 26th, 27th of September because Jose will be taking their primary course there. And so you will have light in is he in Baltimore too? I think he is. You will have a light practitioner right there in Baltimore. I promise.
Okay. I'm interested in learning more about this. Like I said, I've never
Yeah.
encountered someone who does light ceremonies and these type of things.
Yeah, yeah. The light practice is it's one-on-one in person. It can be as little as 10 minutes if you are meeting it if a bunch of light practitioners have gone out to an event, they're probably only offering 10 minutes at a time. And if you go to a light center or you know somebody personally who's coming to you, you could receive up to 40 or 50 minutes of light. And the light doesn't promise to heal, but it starts with light projected at your pineal gland, your main soul, and then different meridian points throughout the body. So it may, and you think chakras or whatever, it lines up with other energy practices that you have um, heard about. And hold on, I have a the purpose of the art of true light is not to heal illness, but to enable all humankind to participate in the great divine work of achieving the divine plan, and at the same time to advance on the path to attaining divine nature through the purification of the trinity of the spirit, mind, and body, and thus resurrect their original power as children of God. And the divine plan, as I understand it, an oversimplification, is that at the root of all religions, the message has always been love one another, you know, a world that works for everyone with nobody and nothing left out, and where everybody is met with love and kindness and treating each other that way. Um, and the teachings very much line up with whatever religious teachings. When I first became a practitioner of the art of true light, I was and still am to some degree a practicing Christian, pastor's assistant in Nashville. And so I went back to the church and said, well, it's kind of like an app you add on top of your religion. And the more I study the teachings of Mahikari, the more I understand the teachings in the Bible. And because I have a daily prayer group where I interact with people, many of whom have landmark backgrounds also, but who are Muslims, Jews, Latter-day Saints, Catholics, Christians. They bring in all sorts of different religious interpretations or affirmations of how these teachings serve to unfold at a greater depth the teachings they already have, which is beautiful. We had a member. She would have been ready to join team after August, only she's moved on to the astral plane. Who would bring in, the Torah and the teachings that she studied in Judaism and how they aligned with a world that works for everyone and where we all get listened and heard.
It's funny you say that. I was just I have a men's group on Saturdays. We read different books, spirituality and self-development and these type of things. And one of the things I shared this morning was because of my upbringing, I'm Christian based. That you know the rigidity that was created or that I walked into inside of my faith or what I thought faith should look like created a space where like this conversation that we're having right now wouldn't even be something I would be open to
Right.
before, right? And I said that, how much have I missed, you
Mm.
know, um, because I was unwilling to at least like we're doing today, listening and being present. I don't have to agree. I don't have to participate, but to understand and to be present to that. There are other thoughts, there are other things that are going on around me that um yeah, that I'm not aware of. And they have their space because we're all in this thing together, right? We're all in this experience together.
You,
So yeah.
you remind me, I had a conversation with someone the other day who said, Cynthia, I'm talking about quantum fields and this other person in my life, perhaps it was a partner, is talking about religion and they're not and we can't talk together. And I'm like, but God is the quantum field.
Yeah.
Everything in heaven on earth is the voice of God. God is
Yeah.
quantum.
Yeah.
And yeah, and from
Yeah.
there, I went down the rabbit hole of water, how we're mostly made of water and how I understand a video that came across my mm, awareness within the last week had been about the next chips aren't silicon chips, they're a drop of water.
Wow.
And and the rest is living in the field because the water can only hold so much. And in the primary course for this, here he is. In the primary course for this practice that I have, one of the teachers teaching it, I remember him saying, I'm not a drop in the ocean, I am the ocean in a drop. Be-
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Well, I don't know if where you are, I don't know if you heard, but in the news, there's the fires in Canada. That's a big thing that's going on right now. And then that even here in Maryland, and definitely in New York, my sister called me and told me that how the skies are haze,
Hmm.
because what's going on in Canada. And I said, look, look at that wonder. Something happening way in Canada is impacting us here in New York, here in Maryland, where they're canceling events because of
Air
the
quality.
air quality,
Hmm.
here. And this thing is in Canada. So that was, so to me, it speaks to what you're saying that sometimes we have it that these things are separate,
We are all
out. Right. Yeah. So that was definitely present to me inside of that, like, wow, look at that,
right.
you
And
know?
when we forget that we are all interconnected. So when Jhanille pointed out to me that World Listening Day was based on the acoustic environment piece, it,
Mm,
it brought me present to the impact of AI data centers is newly on my radar within the last couple of months. Now, I've used
right.
AI on and off in business for, a few years now, and, I'll continue to because, yeah, it makes life convenient. And yet now I want to be aware of what my AI footprint is and how much data am I using, and even becoming aware of all those old emails that I could have deleted, they're
Yeah.
taking up data center space.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't have to pay for space. If I have to pay for space because there's a data center within 5 miles of me, which changes the acoustic environment because there's this 90 decibel hum 24/7 for the rest of eternity, that's not doable.
Right.
Um, the the idea of having retreats, places you can get away from noise. If you live alongside of a highway, usually that hum goes down at a certain time of day. There are times it's busier, there's times it's slower, but if you put yourself by a data center, it doesn't go down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can I ask Jhanille, what brings you to this World Listening Day? Like what's your point of view in all of this?
Cynthia told me that there's going to be an event like this World Listening Day, and I haven't heard of it before because I think it's mostly celebrated in the West, and I'm in Asia, and we didn't hear of it. Like it's not taught in schools, it's not taught in our society, and I had to look things up, like what is this all about? And I came to a perspective upon learning that it's generally about listening and what makes us a good listener, like not just to, well, World Listening Day is focusing about nature, and since human beings, we're part of our nature as well, and we coexist with all the other beings, so how are we going to listen to not just ourselves but to the surroundings around us? And that made me wonder if what am I doing in the, like in the sense of listening, like how am I listening to these things? And I've mentioned to Cynthia before that right before we started, that I'm grateful to hear that I'm in an environment where I can still hear nature, I can still hear the rain, I can still hear the crickets chirping and the
Mhm.
birds, and I'm very grateful that I'm in that environment that nurtures life, not just my life, my family, but also the other beings as well.
Right, right. Wow.
And
Wow.
and
Yeah.
I can hear your crickets. I mean, that's cool.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
No,
Oh
no,
no, don't be.
but that's like so many of us, like even me moving to Maryland, my wife and I deciding for us to move to Maryland. One of the big things was we're born and raised. Well, I'm born and raised in New York. She's from Jamaica, and one of the things there was there are more trees. When you're driving, even to and from work, there's more nature around, and there's a calming that comes when there's nature around,
Hmm.
that I can't explain, but it just is. So like
Oh,
yeah.
that's the book I wanted to write. You
Oh,
you plant a tree in a housing development, the crime goes
yeah.
down. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big deal for us. And even, so us moving from the city, moving to a more area with more trees and such, like, I could wake up in the morning over here and I could see a deer running across the street, chipmunks and these different animals and such. And for me, it gives me a tighter connection with nature. So yeah, I dig it. I've never experienced it before. Thank you for, bringing me present to something like this. I didn't even know that a day like this existed. So I'm in the same boat as you, Jhanille. This is new. This is new.
I'll be right with you. I'm answering a message.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah,
I'm here
this
gearing
is
up.
new to me as well.
Yeah, I have somebody
Yeah.
trying to reach
What
me.
part of Asia are you in?
I'm in the Philippines. It's
I'm breaking up.
southeastern.
She's in the
Okay.
Philippines. She
Southeast
got
Asia.
she
Okay.
got to experience earthquakes recently. I think he
Yeah,
used
a lot of them. And right now,
Oh, wow.
we're currently having, I think it's three super typhoons, but we have a
three
lot
super
of mountains here.
typhoons.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we don't get many of those over here. Yeah, you. You give us a real earthquake where I live. We think that we think it's world's end. we, we we think it's over. Earthquakes.
We will be, yeah. We've had earthquakes around here, but we don't generally feel them. There was one in Kentucky not long ago, but they're not
All right.
big. They're not like 7 point anything.
All right. So I'm gonna go. I'm getting into the car.
Okay, well,
Um.
I greatly appreciate your coming by for this event.
Yes.
I don't know if
Yes.
I will do it again, but I wanted to hop on the idea of World Listening Day, and I
I love
approached
it.
it from communication and listening and speaking. And so thank you for joining us and for talking a little bit about light. I'll talk with you again about that
Thank
more
you,
when you're
ladies.
ready.
Take care.
All
Jhanille,
right,
nice
love
meeting
you.
you. Cynthia, you take care. Love you too. Bye bye.
Okay, bye-bye, Raphael.
Bye. Nice meeting you.
All right, and then Jhanille, thank you for coming with me for the first World Listening Day, for putting together what we put together and flying by the seat of our pants because it works. It works. It
Yeah,
makes and for
amazing,
bringing your crickets because mine don't come out until the evening and I like yours.
right?
So I
Okay.
wish you a good weekend and thank you. I'm gonna stop the recording. So if I am posting this and you're watching this after the fact, please put in the comments what is World Listening Day to you and what will you be listening to perhaps differently because of having thought about World Listening Day today. Thank you so very much.
Yes, yes, I will.
Thank you.
Yes, I will.
I'm going to stop the